Welcome to the Album of the Week podcast. I'm your host, Vic, and with me I have my awesome co-host, Jesse. Chris couldn't make it with us again today. He's at a Hello Kitty convention. How are things going, Jesse?
Things are going good, Vic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. We had a good album to review today for today's episode. It was very interesting, and I guess we're going to get right into it. This album is Omar Rodriguez-Lopez's second album from his 12 bi-weekly album project. The title is Corazones, or Corazones if you're Spanish. And it was initially meant to be a score for a major motion picture. He was asked to provide a score for this picture, and it ended up getting thrown away. They ended up not using his work, and I didn't get the name of the movie that was asked for this, but from what I gather from the songs, it seemed like an indie movie, maybe like a Juno type, I would say. And
yeah, that's a good way to describe it, Juno.
yeah, it definitely has that feel. And actually, I made a lot of comparisons to that while I was listening to it. A lot of the songs from the Juno soundtrack were actually written by the Moldy Peaches, a good indie pop band. More indie folk, I should say, but it's interesting music, and I actually have a bunch of their CDs. This album reminded me a lot of that band in different places. It had a lot of different feels to it as far as when I listened to it. It had some folk, it had some pop, it had some 80s feel to it, and a couple songs that I heard. Did you kind of get the same feelings while you were listening to it?
Yeah, I definitely felt the folk influence due to I think every song was pretty much acoustic, right? So, I mean, plus it's got its heavy rock riffs in it too, but it was really acoustic driven, which I really liked.
There was a lot of acoustic. There was typical Omar overlays, and it was very different from what you expect to listen to on an Omar Rodriguez-Lopez project.
Yeah, because compared to his last album, Sworn Virgins, which was a lot heavier than Corazones, so it's a huge change in dynamics when it comes to instruments.
What the studio initially asked him to do with this was to make it very clear, make the lyrics clear, make the music clear. I guess that was code word for easy to listen to.
Right.
Things people won't have to think too hard to listen to, but he still is a very, very, very artistic musician, and he still has so many great moments in this album. Some of the stuff that came through in this album that I really like about that genre is the wonderful lyrics, the things that you can bring across through the words. Most of Omar's stuff is tonal. This one was much different. This was what they were going for, very clear, very, very open with the message of the lyrics. And even though it was, brought down to a more simple way, he still found really great wordplay and really great, lyrical lines that just, really, really got me excited about this album. So we're going to start getting right into it. We're going to go right into our Love It and Hate It section. Jesse, I'm going to let you go first, as I always do. What was your Love It?
Well, I have a few Love It's for this one. I really like the number 3 track, which is called It Was Her.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the way it was composed. I particularly love the way it goes into song number 4, which is called Dead Heart, and it's a very short song, but if you're not paying attention, they pretty much blend into each other, and we noticed that in the last album he released. There was a few songs that blended into each other, and this one has the same effect. So song 3, It Was Her, going into Dead Hearts, I really enjoyed that one.
I actually noticed that too. The blending of albums, the blending of tracks is something that he's keen into doing, and I guess it's more making a bigger composition and then breaking it down purposefully for a very specific reason. And on those 2 tracks, I noticed that I think he split it because the Dead Heart part of the song is very disjointed. At some points at the end of that composition, he's kind of just like slapping
The
the piano
piano.
keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just kind of slapping the piano keys. I don't know. I mean, maybe his where he's putting his hands on the piano are not necessarily purposeful, but the sound is purposeful. It's supposed to be disjointed because that's the theme of the song. It's kind of it's about unrequited love, and just kind of just you don't know what to do because you really like someone, and obviously that's not being returned, or it once was and it now isn't. And I think adding that end part was very clever in really getting that disjointed feel going, and he nailed it. I really like that song too. So, what's your hate it?
What? Man, Omar's just so good. I really don't have much to hate, but I guess if I had to pick a track, I'd have to say the last one. If I told you the truth, I would
Hmm.
be made of lies. As
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good song, but I guess like the way he sings it is a little different too. So, I mean, I'm not gonna sing it for you, but
sure.
you've heard the tracks, so I mean, it's still good, but I guess like it's different from the rest of the album the way he sings it.
Yeah, a lot of the songs have different feels to it. Like I was saying, there was one track that really was like a classic rock and roll song. It was "Arrest My Father." The "Arrest My Father" really had like a Johnny Cash, even though Johnny Cash is considered mostly country. He has, he's a classic rock and roll guy. And I don't mean in the major idea of the genre, but a very specific type of rock and roll that 60s, 70s rock and roll that was very popular, and I really enjoyed it overall. That song, it was different. I felt like it was a little different than the rest of the album, but I really liked it. I'm gonna give you my love it and hate it. My love it, it was hard to break it down because there was I have my notes here and I have 5 big stars next to these tracks.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I had a lot of love it too. I really love Lola. That was another track that I loved.
yeah, Lola was the nursery rhyme style song, but it was contrasted by the lyrics. The lyrics had some kind of darker tones, or more serious themes. I felt like it was a marriage that might have been one-sided, or a relationship that was one-sided, and kind of regret in that. And for example, I believe one of the lyrics is, "I let you clean this mess all by yourself." That says a lot. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I was there, but not really. On that same track, there was another lyric that really got me going. "Honey, I found a dog. It's been soaked in mud, soaked in children's love." That one really hit me in a really really good place, and I was just like, oh man, this fucking guy,
Yeah, man, he's good
this
at that.
guy, this guy can really write lyrics. He gets more dynamic every time I listen to something he does, and
Yeah.
mostly when I listen to his stuff, I take his lyrics as a tonal thing, and I don't have very much to remember. There's a few songs that in his Mars Volta past that I remember for the lyrics, but not many. Mostly it's tonal, and I really like it. I get it as it goes along with the feel that they're going for, but this album was very very deep. So my love it, I would pick Lola. I really dug the style. It reminded me somewhat of some of the Jack Johnson stuff that he did for the Curious George soundtrack, and it probably has to do with the same thought process of making it clear, to be a part of a major motion picture. I'm not saying they're the same. Obviously, they're not. I feel like Omar is a very talented musician, as is Jack, but in a different way. That's my love it. For the hate it, here's where I think our opinions will differ. I had a few tracks that were not my favorite. I could have maybe done without. and were just pretty okay. As opposed to stars on these tracks, I wrote meh, because that's what I kind of felt on some of these tracks. Um, but my hate it will have to be the very first track, the opening track, We Feel the Silence. And it's not because the song is bad, it's more because I feel the chorus is bad. And the chorus is the title pretty much. I think it's We Feel the Silence at Night. I kind of feel like he missed the mark with the chorus because the verses are tremendous. His lyrics for the verses I thought were absolutely awesome, but I just feel like he missed the mark. There were some other tracks, like I said, also that were kind of just okay to me, and it's hard to come out with a absolutely perfect album for everybody. Don't get me wrong, I like this album a lot, but there's a few tracks that just I believe fell short. This album also had a music video released for the promotion of this album. It's called Running Away. I actually thought, while listening to this album a couple times, I felt like if they would have just cut out that first song, or maybe rearranged it somewhere in the, somewhere deeper in the album, I felt like the album would have actually had a better flow. That kind of jarring start that the album has, or the song has, Raining Away, which is the second track, I think would have been a great start for the album. The song starts and it picks up right away. So I think that would have been a very interesting choice to start with, but that's kind of nitpicking. And the song Running Away had a few cameos, from famous musicians, and including one of our favorite guitarists that we hope makes an appearance soon on Omar's albums, John Frusciante. I thought it was a very fun music video.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. When I first heard the song, I really liked it actually. I thought it was a really good song. It was easy to listen to, and yeah, and the video was pretty cool.
The video takes place in Los Angeles, where Omar's walking around and essentially getting punched in the face by various people for various relationship type deals, friendships, and maybe romantic relationship types. But I thought it was interesting, and if you get a chance, listeners, go ahead and check it out on YouTube. And it's interesting.
It'll pop up.
Yeah, it'll pop up for sure, and give it a shot. Now we'll go right into our rate it segment. What did you rate it, Jesse?
Are we doing school grades again?
Yeah, we're going to do school grades.
I really want to give this album, probably going to have to give it just a solid B. Solid B.
Do you think that would increase with more listens, or do you think it'll be a pretty solid score no matter how many times you listen to it?
I think the more I listen to it, I'll probably like it more. I think I wanted to initially give it an A, but you got to be realistic sometimes, and just because you like an artist, you can't just always give it a perfect score. So, yeah, there are some things about some of the song compositions, as you mentioned, that could have been a lot better. And once you start, nitpicking on some of those things, you realize, it's not always a perfect album, but it's a really good album. So I'm going to definitely give it a B.
I'm going to rate this album, I'm going to give it a C+. I know that's kind of being hard on him, but I guess the more you like an artist, the more critical you can be of them. And I really like Omar. I think such, high things of him. I think he's a great musician. And even though I do like the genre that he aimed for here, I just feel like there was too many songs that kind of were skippable, in my opinion. And there were some really, really great moments even in those songs. For instance, the song I talked about earlier, We Feel the Silence. He has great moments in it, but I just feel like if you miss the spot on the chorus, sometimes it's not something you can come back from on that track. I think overall it was a solid album. Different, which I liked. I liked that he kind of was able to step away from that. I'll stand by a C+. It's almost there to a B- or B. Like I said, I feel like there was one too many meh songs that that I couldn't really give it a higher grade. Um,
Right.
it just didn't quite make it for me
Hmm.
to get up to a B, to the B level. One thing I want to talk about before we end this album was actually written shortly after Omar's mother passed away, and you can kind of feel the heartbreak in this album. You know, it seems like he was going through a lot. There's one track I have to make a note of it. If you're listening to this album, you have to stick to it and get to Certainty, which is a tribute track to his mother. It is a beautiful, beautiful tribute. I thought it was one of the best songs I've heard by him. Even though I didn't pick it for my love it, I kind of set it aside so we can talk about it. I thought it was just awesome and a fitting, wonderful tribute. You can really feel, you know, the closeness that he had with his mom, and it was great. On my notes right here, I have in big, big letters and underlined and exclamation points, beautiful, because that's what it was. I thought it was great. What did you think of the track?
No, it's a good track. That was also one of my favorite ones. I mean, I had a lot of love-its for this one, and that was one of the ones that I had circled as well. I had read also that, this album was also kind of like a tribute to his late mother when she had passed away. And like you said, you can definitely feel the emotion that went into a lot of these songs. So it was, definitely it was definitely a good track. There's a lot of good tracks on this album, and like I said, just the feel is definitely what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. It pulls you in different directions. It pulls you up and down. Sometimes in the same song, you know. I definitely will keep this in rotation every once in a while. I'll put it on because I thought it was very interesting to hear his take on, you know, folk pop. Would you recommend people buy this album?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend everybody to purchase or get your hands on this album any way you can.
I feel that if you're expecting typical Omar stuff and, you know, you're going to not like it if it's not typical Omar stuff, you might want to pass it. But if you're willing to kind of see how much range he has, I think that this is definitely a pickup. If you've never heard his music before, I think this is definitely a pickup. I think if you're just interested in new music, I think this is definitely a pickup. I definitely say this is, you know, this is a album you should buy, and I think you can only purchase it through his Bandcamp. Google Omar Rodriguez-Lopez Bandcamp Corazones, and I think you'll be able to find it very easy. And do you have any other thoughts on the album?
No, I mean, I think it's a great album. Like I said, I hope everybody has the opportunity to listen to it because it is good. And as always, if you want the album for free, you can always hit us up and we don't have a problem sending you the tracks. So keep that in mind.
Yep, go ahead and email us at aotw.host@gmail.com. You could also hit us up on Twitter, AOTW Podcast, or you can find us on Facebook, AOTW Podcast on Facebook. And you guys can talk about music with us. You can suggest albums we can listen to. You can give us throwback albums to listen to. Just let us know what you want to hear, and maybe we'll pick up a suggestion, and maybe we'll review that in the future. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you, Jesse, for being on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and be kind to each other.
All right, thank you guys. And hopefully Chris comes back with some goodies from that Hello Kitty convention.
Definitely. Bye-bye.
See you guys.